Rico for what, a couple years now,
Yes.
and we've crossed paths in totally different spaces. Like I think we met in the the Chicago real estate investors, right? At the Portillo
Yes,
time,
correct. Right? And then a couple of offshoot events from that as well. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rico, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name, as I said, is Faisal said, is Rico Patel. I am a now full-time real estate investment partner. I have worked in corporate America for over 20 years, from large companies such as Accenture, CNA, and most recently Marsh McLennan out here in Schaumburg. And I have my MBA from DePaul University and undergrad from University of Illinois. And I have a pretty big family, 3 sisters, 8 nieces and nephews. My mom and dad also live here. So yes, the only son. And so, as far as hobbies,
the oldest son in an immigrant family.
Say what?
The only son and the oldest son in an immigrant family. So there's no pressure on you whatsoever.
Yes. And what I do is a little bit unorthodox. So it's a little different than what the rest of my family does. So that, to start off is a little bit challenging. And as far as hobbies, I play a lot of sports, everything from football to now play volleyball and basketball, things like that. I do a lot of home improvements, and I am kind of spiritual in a sense. I do volunteer and go to the temple quite a bit. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and so tell us about. So you and I have crossed paths in real estate circles, and I've always been impressed with the depth of your knowledge, right? And I feel that, and maybe it's just, kindred spirits, but I felt there was a certain systematic approach that you had to your real estate ventures and how you got into them and how you assess them and how you analyze them. So tell us about what kind of real estate do you do? Are you residential, commercial? Like, what's your focus?
I am residential, mainly. We are trying to venture into commercial and doing strip malls and things like that, but currently it's all residential. I have a portfolio of about 17 properties currently, 10 that I own myself, and recently I've joined ventures with another partner and have recently acquired around 7. So I've acquired more in the last 8 months than I did over the last 10 years. So we're moving pretty aggressively, but it's all residential.
That's awesome. Are these all single families? Are they multi-families? What kind of?
Yeah, residential. So there's the single families, most of them, and there are townhomes and a couple of condos in there as well. And pretty much all in this neighborhood. Say what?
Was it like a portfolio? Like you just acquired it from a group, or did you just pick them up one by one?
I picked them up one by one. So I started all the way in 2014, and the few that I acquired were off market, and those were from a real estate attorney. You may know a thing or two about that, Faisal. So these were off market deals. I was really this attorney and knew that I was getting into investing. So she gave me a couple of off-market deals. One was a probate sale. The other one was just a tired landlord just wanted to get out. So that's how I acquired those properties. Some on the MLS, some from wholesalers, but it wasn't a package deal. One of them was a package deal, but from there, I was a package of about 25 properties, which in hindsight, I regret that. I wish I would have taken more properties from that, but I actually reached out to other investors and we kind of split up those properties.
And instead of taking them all, you actually broke them up between you and a couple of you.
Yes, correct.
You find. So what made you pick the ones that you picked?
The ROI, the risk and reward, and properties that are a little bit closer to me, just proximity. I live in the Hanover Park, Schaumburg area, so the areas that I'm familiar with are the ones that I picked.
Got it. And so, are you looking at cash on? So do you finance your stuff? Do you buy cash? Like what's your secret? What's your edge, I guess, that you feel that has made you successful in what you do?
Right, right. It really depends on the deal. Early in the career, I had a friend who was my mentor. So at that point, since and I can speak about all the different things that we can all bring to the deal, and I actually have an
Right, of
acronym
course.
called Market. So at that point, I didn't have the knowledge or the experience, but I did have money. I was working corporate
Yeah,
job so I had a little stash on the side. So at that time, it
right.
was just money that I was able to bring. And even right now, depending on the deal, I did finance them. But at that point, I started off with properties in the $50,000-$75,000 range. Now I've moved up to about the $200,000 range. So
Yeah,
at that point, I was able to purchase them cash. And just to leave, it doesn't make sense to finance such a smaller amount. But right
right.
now, we do, depending on our exit strategy, we have a hard money loan that we use to go ahead and purchase it and then rehab it. And then we go ahead and do a back end refinance longer term. And I do assist with the down payment because they won't finance all of it. So that's
So when you do that, do you look at your cash on cash return? Or are you looking at the overall calculation?
initially, I would just look on cash and cash because I look at alternatives. So what's the next best? So if I leave it in the stock market, other place, even if I do private lending as well. So for me, the
Okay,
cash on cash has to be in the high teens. Otherwise, I don't
got
even
it.
look. Yeah. And
So
I
what is that?
noticed.
So what is that? So give us an example of a deal. Like what does that look like?
So my first one, I'll give you that one here in Streamwood. I'm looking this way because Streamwood is that way. And that was a single family home and a simple 4 bedroom, 1,000 square feet. I only got it for 80,000 at that point. Right now, that property is
Oh,
worth
okay.
well over 300,000. And for me, I would
Wow.
look at it on cash. So if I'm purchasing cash and rehabbing it, how much money I have stuck. So let's say it's 100,000. But after the rent and taxes, there's no HOA insurance and all that jazz. What my cash on cash would be. So if I'm going to park $100,000 cash, is how I analyze
Yeah,
deals. I need to get at
got it.
least around 18 to 20,000 net, just cash on cash. So that's my first test that I do with any
Got it.
property. So if I'm not getting at
Okay.
least 18 or 20%, I don't even go to, if I were to finance it, what the cash on cash with the debt service would be, which I would expect would
Oh,
be even higher than that.
correct. Correct.
Yeah.
So your baseline is cash on cash is 18% on
Yes,
your
so I
initial
would say high
investment.
teens, yeah. If it's a really nice neighborhood, I'll go in the low teens, but nothing less than 12, 14% because I can get that just doing private lending. Why would I want to go through all of the,
Correct.
uh, so that's just the first test that I do. And then there's the equity portion as well. So if I'm going to go around 15%, it's a nice neighborhood. I'm okay with that. If there's a higher equity, 25, 30% equity. And by that, I mean, in this example, if it's 100, now if I'm going to put 150,000 into it, it would need to be worth it at that point, have at least 25% equity. So it would need to be worth 200 point immediately on the back end. So,
Are you
so
still
there's the
seeing those types of
ROI
deals?
and equity kind of balance.
Are you still seeing those types of deals these days, or is it been kind of fewer pickings that are that because those are great returns, right?
Those are great returns. They're slimmer, but we do find them. Yes.
Okay.
It's just a
And what
number.
is your
There's a few more zeros. Everything is elevated. So we're not going to get
right?
properties for 80, 100,000, but if we get them for 150, then the percentages still work.
Got it. Got it. So right, you're not finding the same deals at the lower value, but spending a little bit more, you're finding some deals that gives you the same return in terms of percentages, but you have to spending more to get it.
Perfect. Yes, exactly.
Got it. Got it. So you didn't get here like you didn't just wake up one day and suddenly are able to do this, right? So one of the things that I find that people really don't talk about is their challenges to how they got here, right?
Yes.
In some cases, I mean, there's social stigma. They're embarrassed about, oh, I didn't I failed or I made a mistake or this went sideways. But I feel like there's a lot that can be learned from each other as to don't do this, don't do that, what to look out for.
Yeah.
Do you have what were your scenarios that you were like, I'm sure there was that moment where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go work at Starbucks.
Yes, yes, exactly right, Faisal. Some of these stories still kind of get me emotional. I'll try to keep it together, but even though I've been in real estate since 2014, so almost a dozen years now.
12 years.
And if I did not have the setbacks that I did, I would have progressed. Instead of taking 3 steps forward and 1 step back, I took 3 steps forward and I took 5 steps back because of these deals that really. But even then, because I've been able to. A lot of it is mind shift to be able to not focus on what already happened, the bad part of it. I have to keep the wheels churning. So I won't go too much into depth, but yes, I did have 3 major setbacks deals, which I hope all of the listeners can really take to heart, because when we're getting started into real estate, I believe that we all pay. One way or another, we're going to pay. Even if we don't do anything, the alternative is that we're paying by not, getting the better.
Right. Lost opportunity.
So, yeah, and we will go to school, whether we're going to learn the hard way or we learn through a mentor. So I just recommend that anybody getting started, just like anything, even sports or whatever, have a mentor, have somebody that can guide you. And at least the first few deals, the returns will be split, but then also the risk will be split. So initially getting that started and then go solo, kind of, do whatever we want. So the 3 deals that really set me back, one of them was the longest. It took me almost 8 years to get out of it. It was a partnership that I had with a partner in Palatine that I did a flip. He already had the primary financing. I came in with the down payment. I helped rehab it, things like that, because I was in between jobs at that point. Long story short, he sold a home. We didn't make any money. We broke even, but he also kept my proceeds in that transaction, which was well over $100,000. The good part of that, Faisal, is that I had all the documentation. So I chased him down. So we went through arbitration, we went through courts, things like that. So even if you search my name, you'll see that, I'm the plaintiff for a lot of these. And I don't mean to be give people a hard time. I'm a really nice guy to get along with. But if you're going to play tough, then I'm
going to stick it to me. Get ready. I'm going to hit back. Got it.
Yes.
I love
it. was a long one that just got dragged out. By the way. Say what?
Wow. That's my love language.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
I'm not a fighter, but if you want to fight, I know how to rough and tumble, right?
Yes.
So, I think that's a classic situation we've all had it. We've all had partners. We've all gone into business with other people, right? And we've all had situations that went really well, but we also have those really bad ones. So looking back, what would you have done differently looking back on that transaction to maybe not have gotten to that situation?
Yes, and I even put it up here in my notes here that spend the money and doing trust but verification earlier, not after. I spent a lot of money and all of that. I just trusted and verified because it was a referral from another agent that I knew, a friend. So I just kind of said, I trust him. I didn't do additional verification and putting the lien on the property that he wouldn't be able to sell, and then getting an attorney involved because it's a joint venture, things like that. So I would say one of the lessons learned is spend all of that, know how conflict is going to be. Hope don't have to use it, but use attorneys and things like that upfront, as if when things are great, but when things hit the fan, is when we really know people's true nature. So I would say do that upfront and protect yourself.
That's wouldn't that the test of character and integrity is what the things that you do when things are hard?
Yes.
When you have to make the hard choice, that's when your character is tested. Not when it's easy. When it's easy, everybody does the right thing, right? It's when it's
Yes.
really hard and you have to make that choice. What's the choice that you make?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm guessing you recovered some of it, or
Yeah, I did.
or multiple.
And Faisal, this is really interesting how our minds work. I was able to recover at one point. I was like, even okay, taking half of it. It was just more of a mental thing. It was more for the principal. And even then, he said he'd give half, and he didn't. And then ultimately, a few years later, he ended up paying a lot more than he went all the way to 130,000. Even then, I was negotiated down to 100. I'm like, you know what, just get it. But even when I got that money back, I didn't really feel like, oh, I won. You know what I'm saying? Because mentally I was already beat, and it was more the principle. I wanted to really just show that, ethics and doing the right thing, is really important. And, the stress and the lost sleep and all that, nobody can, give that back. But this you have to be mentally sharp with all of this. So, but I did get that back, yes.
And you were saying that this was when you were in between jobs, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't like that $100,000 was just sitting around doing nothing. Like that was a critical time for you.
Yes, it was. And some of it was, I had my dad involved and things like that. So it was just a lot of pieces going on. But yeah, and there's a couple of other ones. Real quick, one was where I paid the general contractor. He never paid the subs. And I would say the lessons learned there is make sure you have a lien waiver. And make sure the subs are getting paid. The GC's not taking the money and flying off somewhere, things like that.
Make sure the GC's actually paying the contractors. Like, I mean, are you talking to sometimes you don't even have access to the subs to actually even find out if they're being paid.
Yeah, because I check now. I check on the properties and I make connection and get the information of the people that are the subs that are working on the property, and I ask them. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, we paid. Are you getting paid? And then every single payment, there's a thing called, obviously, it's a lien waiver, where if I'm they cannot put a lien on the property because this payment is already paid. Sending a text and emailing and all that doesn't work as nicely as a lien waiver. So I make sure. Now I just ask the subs.
That's great. So now when you do that, so where do you get it? Because there's a process to a lien waiver, right? So you have to get the document detailing what it is that you're paying. Then you have to have the payment that you paid. Then you have to have them signed, but then you have to get it notarized. So do you have a notary, or do you do it at the title company, or where do you get it done?
No, I have a template already prepared. I don't get it all notarized. I know I should, but just the fact that I even have that, and a lot of these contractors aren't that, that sophisticated, let's just say, to really know. As long as it's signed, they know that this transaction has taken place. One time I had another contractor try to put a mechanics lien on the property, but I never signed the document. He forged all of that, my signature and all that. And then he was outside the window. I think it was 120 days or whatever. So it was as bogus. But I think the fact that this paper is given, I think that serves enough. And it's a simple template. I'm giving you, whether I'm selling you or writing you a check, here's $5,000 for this amount of work. And here's our contract. This fulfills, this amount out of the total contract due. And that's, for the most part, it's sufficient.
Got it. Yeah. So at least it's better. It's better than having nothing, right?
Exactly.
It's better than having nothing.
Yeah.
And you're right. Most contractors aren't that sophisticated, right? So they don't understand. And if they get really shisty, the fact that you have a document like a receipt showing payment is enough to defeat the mechanics claim, anyways, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So no, I love it. So I can't tell you how many people don't do that.
Right.
And I've come across forged mechanics lien waivers, and I've come across, claims and falsified records and false liens, and all right. So now you've dealt with a contractor, you've dealt with bad partners, bad deals. Have there been deals where things went sideways in terms of the construction or the rehab that you didn't anticipate happening, and now you've got to run a sewer line for $18,000 that you weren't planning for?
Yeah, actually, I had to run a sewer line 2 times. One of them was, here's another lesson. This was one that my partner and I had bought. Another one that we have here in Streamwood area. And over here, as you know, the homes are built in the 60s and all. So there's a lot of clay, type of stuff. So even though I had owned it with my partner and I purchased it, but at that point didn't do the proper inspection and all of that. And I figured since I had owned it all this time, but I was buying her out. So it's one of those that it's always important to, even if the wholesaler, the seller is not going to, even if in a short sale or whatever, they're not going to give us credit. It's for our peace of mind, and we know what we're getting into. Even if we have to lose a few thousand and have to walk away from the deal because the numbers don't make sense or there's a lot going on. So I think that's another lessons learned that I had, where I did not do that, and the construction and the rehab, getting to your question, it did end up being a lot more than I had initially anticipated, to be. And had to, luckily had great insurance and was able to file a claim and get all that reimbursed. But with the tenant living there and just having the tenant live in a hotel during that time, and it's a big mess. So as long as we know what we're getting into by doing the proper inspection and all that, and allowing a little bit of flux in the rehab amount, usually we can get past these types of surprises. I think I lost you, Faisal. I can't see you. Faisal? Hello. Okay, now you're on the other side of my screen. Okay. It's magic. What happened?
And my system crashed. So, but I'm still here. I'm back. Can you hear me? Houston?
There we go. I see you. There's 2 entries for you now. Not 2 of you. One, I see. Okay, now it's gone. There's still another third box.
Got it. There's a third box.
I don't know if that's affecting anything, but that's fine.
Okay.
All right. That's good.
All right. But you can hear me, though?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So back to where do we leave off? We were talking about
rehab and construction costs going sideways.
Construction going sideways.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, by the way, is that backwards above me, or is it reading the correct way?
No, it's reading the correct way. From EV attorneys in law to
because sometimes it's reversed, it's mirrored, and I'm like, I can't tell from my side which way it's supposed to be. So okay, I'm glad it worked.
Even like right now, if I raise this is not my left hand.
That's your right hand, but it looks like your left.
Yeah, for you it looks like the left, right? Yeah.
That's funny. Very cool. So now you also said you do some lending.
Yes, I do.
What are your requirements for lending, and how do you go about that process?
That one I use the typical. So there has to be a strong collateral. and that I prefer it to be resident investment properties. Not even I don't do businesses as much because it's just more complexity to it, and a lot of times they're looking for the down payment portion of it, which is riskier than lending, as a first lien position.
Correct.
So my requirements are the numbers have to make sense as if I were purchasing a property for myself. If as an investor that does not make sense, I will not lend on that property.
Lend to it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And, not invest or even lend to it. Yes.
Yeah. And so how do you qualify your borrowers?
Based on their experience. And also another lesson learned here. I lent on a mobile home there in Champaign, in Ludlow, and I did not know the individual. So from that one lesson, even though I had a deed in lieu, which it became really helpful for me to go ahead and take over the property. But that's how I vet the borrowers now, that I will not just lend. It has to be what they say, via, like a referral. Like if you know somebody's like, yeah, I can trust this person. Right. Okay, so that's first.
Tell me who you know, and I'll decide whether I'm actually going to lend to you. Fair.
Yes. So then not only the property has to make sense, that borrower needs to be of the, the right mindset and the right. So even if the deal makes sense, if the borrower has other alternative, motives or just not. They may have good intentions, but for whatever reason, they don't have the experience. Something happens, they're just not able to pay. So that's how I first vetted that. If the deal doesn't make sense for me as an investor, I'm not going to lend on it. If I don't have a good vibe about the borrower, I'm not going to lend on it. But otherwise, then there's enough cushion. I will lend to that person.
And one of the things that I have found representing lenders and even borrowers against lenders is how terrible their paperwork is. Right?
Yes.
And so I'm sure, as you can imagine, as a foreclosure defense attorney and then as a real estate attorney, I have seen hundreds of notes and mortgage agreements. And I was curious, what have you done from your perspective and your documentation just to protect yourselves to ensure that you're going to get your money back? Yeah,
it's a great question. Before it used to be just a few documents, the mortgage, whatnot, right? Now I have a whole list of like 8 documents that I have the borrower sign, and if they don't already have an attorney, I will recommend them to either you or one of the real estate attorneys that actually does the proper documentation, and make sure not only that it's, because then the liability kind of goes on them for giving me the proper documentation, and that it gets recorded. And should I need to foreclose and actually execute on those if the loan defaults for whatever reason, deed in lieu and things like that, that I have that documentation. So, and I go ahead and have the borrower front that cost.
So you have the borrower's attorney prepare the documents for you?
Either the borrower or I would have my own if they don't have one. Yes, the borrower's attorney would prepare it.
Got it. That's very trusting.
Well, yeah, because it could be a borrower, it could be because I won't have my own attorney, but I know what to look for in all the documentations that I see. So it's the assignment of rents and affidavit of things like that in the note and the mortgage, and make sure all the terms and everything and all the language is kind of I'll still read through all that. But if I don't feel comfortable, looks like they went through AI and got all of these documents, it's not gonna fly. But as long as I know some attorney has reviewed it and went through all of that, for the most part, again, a contractor, mechanics lien, like if they have bad intentions to not repay the loan, I want to make sure I have enough documentation to take them to court. I haven't had to, except that one deal. Yeah.
So interesting enough, so it's funny because that's very typical, right? I mean, that's actually, let me rephrase. That's far more advanced than most lenders, right? In terms of what you have a list of things that you're looking for. And I mean, are you open to some feedback on that? Because just my thoughts and my experiences on it.
Sure, go for it.
So, as a lender, one of the things that I've seen from some of these big mastery type groups, right, where they have the paperwork and stuff, is that they're very borrower friendly.
Okay.
And so what happens is the lenders get when everything is fine, doesn't matter, like no one cares. But when the shit goes sideways, that's when they can't recover. Like I've like some of the paperwork which I thought was interesting. So for example, if you lent a borrower and you lent him 3 different deals, right? And the way their paperwork is lined up for the lenders is if you lent on 3 different deals and 2 deals went well and 1 deal goes south, you cannot use the deals that went well to compensate you for the deal that went south.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So, which is not how lending works, right? Lending is I lent it to you and I get cross collateralized on all your assets. So if one deal is not paying out or I'm short, I get to recover it from the profits of your other deals.
Okay. Is it based on the entity that it's lent against or not?
If it's the same entity for sure, or if it's from the individual, right? So
because you're personally guaranteeing it.
Right. But a personal guarantee doesn't do anything if you can't cross collateralize.
Correct. Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Right. Then the other one that I find is called the cross default provision. I don't know if you're ever familiar with that one, right? So if I have 3 deals and you're supposed to be paying me on all 3 of them, and then you stop paying on one of them, I can't use the other 2 deals to collect on that one because there's no cross default.
Okay.
Right. So then that's current. Right. Wow. Look at all this free advice I'm giving you, Rico.
This is great. I'm actually taking notes. So I guess I know who I'm going to next for the lending paperwork.
And so the other thing is, so the key to the lending from a legal perspective is representing lenders is not the fact that I can go to court, is how do I make sure I don't have to go to court?
Okay.
Right? Because the foreclosure process is long and troublesome, right? And it can be painful. So especially when you're dealing on the investment and commercial side, there's 2 things that I love to add, which, by the way, as a borrower, I would never allow, but as a lender, these are critical, right? So one of them is the confession of judgment clause, which allows me to step into court and get a judgment against the borrower without actually telling them.
Oh, okay.
So then I don't have to go through an entire trial. I can just go and get a judgment immediately. All right. You can only do it on investment properties.
Okay.
And then the other one is deeds and escrow.
Okay.
So in the event that something goes sideways or there's a default and the cure period has expired and time has passed, that as a lender, I already have your deed in escrow. So I don't have to go through the foreclosure process. I can immediately seize control today.
Okay. Is that deed in escrow similar to a deed in lieu?
Same thing.
Oh, it's the same. Let's just name something different. Okay. All right.
With the deed in lieu, deed in lieu. So this is where the shitty lawyering comes in, right? For people, it's deed in lieu is something that's the process afterwards, right? So you have to be a deed in lieu of foreclosure. That's where that at the end, you guys have agreed that I'm taking the deed in lieu of foreclosing. What you're wanting is a deed in escrow. The deed is already sitting in escrow. In the event of default, the escrowee releases the deed to me. Right?
Got it. Makes sense.
So you can be the escrowee, or an attorney can be the escrowee, right? But putting it in escrow means it's sitting there waiting. So in the event of default, then it gets released. So yes, it is a deed in lieu of foreclosure, right? But the deed has to be in escrow. So you can't do a deed in lieu of foreclosure before the default takes place. And essentially that's what everybody signs. So all these lenders sign deeds in lieu of foreclosure, but you can't do a deed in lieu of foreclosure until the default took place. So it's like putting the cart before the horse. Right?
Yes. Okay.
So, So then that if I were representing the borrower and I wanted to fuck with a lender, I would challenge the deed in lieu of foreclosure and say that it was invalid because you took the deed before I was in default.
Okay. Whereas in this scenario,
Right.
so
So the
yeah,
transfer,
you would stay in the escrow.
so the
Yeah.
transfer is invalid. Correct.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
wasn't consideration to give you that deed.
Mhm. Okay. It's almost yeah. It's an advance of actually the default taking place.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and it's just language, right? It's just how do you position it and how do you structure it so that way it helps.
Okay.
But yeah, so now you've taught me something, and I've helped convey something. So this is
Yes.
fantastic.
Well, I'm
We're
coming to
learning
you now.
together.
Yes. And this cross collateralized, cross deep. I'm writing stuff down. I'm like, even all these deals that I've done. Like I said, it's one of those where like this is all hardwood here. So I've only had one really bad one happen, and that was
Right.
a mobile home. But I totally agree with you. So as far as having all this,
well, mobile homes are different too, because that's not a mortgage; that's a lien. It's treated like a car.
It was a whole park. No, not a mobile home. The mobile park.
Oh, the mobile home park, like the whole park.
The whole park. They had like 10 pads over there. So I went on the whole park. Not the. I mean, there were a few beautiful homes there, but so no, it wasn't anybody's residence. On the land, and whatever. There was a home, the beat up home there, as well as all the pads, the mobile homes themselves. That just happened to be a part of it. Like it was a smaller amount with everything, but it was a whole park.
Interesting. How did you come across that?
Oh gosh, it was some wholesaler who had texted me, and like I said, it was the numbers sounded good, and I wanted to get into mobile park investing. So it's something that I wasn't hoping to take over when I did take over because the borrower defaulted. And I'm like, wait, I wanted the park. Now I have the park. Now I don't want the park, because it's just not the type of clientele I want to deal with. Yeah. And it was a lot further. Right? It's all the way in Champaign County. I went to school there, but it's not like I don't want to go to school more over there.
It's an hour drive. Yeah.
It's just something I can't. I would need a manager and things like that, and I just didn't want to get into that. But that's how I acquired it. Yeah. But we did have this deed in lieu, but it got clouded, Faisal. So even though, like, are you saying I had the deed in lieu, but it was invalid prior to them defaulting, and somehow maybe they got good advice from an attorney or whatever, but then whoever I lent it to, they did a quit claim and kind of clouded the whole chain of title. So then it got all messed up. I mean, it just took then I hired an attorney as well from there, and he was really great to kind of clear all that up. Eventually we went to foreclosure and all that, and then I was able to get a buyer, and then I walked away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that sounds like it was a trouble, but at least you got through it. So Rico, what would you like? So we've got a bunch of people listening. I think it's a drunk veteran and my mom. Maybe those are the two people that are listening. But anybody else who happens to be catching this, what would you want people to reach out to you about, if you want them to reach out to you? Like, do you want people to bring you deals? Do you want people to come to you for investments? Do you want to be a coach? Do you want to go to the circus? Like, I don't know. Like, what?
Yeah, for sure. Bring me deals. And I am at a point now that I don't want to take on too many deals, but investors who are starting off, I want to be a piece that they're looking for to help them grow as well. I've always been kind of, helping others along. So now I'm going to get my sisters, come to, these investments and all that, because they know what I do. They just don't know exactly what I do exactly, but they do know there's some merit into it. So it's kind of like that, where I want to help out other investors. And at the same time, I think I've built my portfolio. I have enough passive income that even if I were to slow down and build that part of it a little bit slower, I'm okay. But along the way, help others. And then make sure other people don't make the same mistakes that I did. I'm really kind of big on that, because I don't want anybody to go through what I did, especially if I can prevent that from other people. And if they just reach out to me and saying they're thinking about that, I don't necessarily need to partner with them, but if I can help with that, I do private lending. My website is betterplace.biz, B-I-Z. It's got all the portfolio, everything in there. So those are the things.
What's the website? So that when what's the website again? Better
Place. Yeah, Better place, place.biz. And obviously, I just named it because it's just giving not only residential a better place for people to live in, but also investors a better place to park their money and kind of build this portfolio, alongside whatever else they're doing.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Rico, I really appreciate your time this morning.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, and I'm sure our listeners and again, the two people who are watching, the drunk veteran and my mom, I've learned a few things this morning.
Okay.
And check out Rico's website, betterplace.biz, and there you can see his portfolio as well as look at some of the things that he does in terms of lending, and it sounds like a little bit of mentorship.
Yes.
He's paying it forward. He's paying it
Yes.
forward, building future generations and generational wealth for the next generations, right?
Correct.
Thank you very much. So again, thank you all for joining us at the Bowtie Edge, Real Estate Unraveled. We stripped away the legal jargon. We got real about real estate. We helped homeowners, investors, brokers, agents, lenders, and my fellow attorneys, and we talked about what you actually need to know. I'm Mahmoud Faisal Khatib, the Bowtie attorney and real estate investment guru, Mr. Rico Patel. We brought you unfiltered insights on the front lines of real estate law. It wasn't theory, it was strategy. Thank you all.